Welcome, friends. Good to
All
see
right.
everybody.
Hello.
All
Yeah.
right. Hey, Tolik. Tolik from Brooklyn.
Uh,
Hey, Jolene. All right, from Ohio. Hi, Annie, Carly, Carl. Hello, everyone. So, the thing about spirituality that makes it so difficult to grasp is that it's spiritual. It's not made up of stuff from this world, and that's super confusing. Uh, this world and the spiritual world are both fashioned from the same blueprint. So there are things that we can ascertain about the spiritual world by observing this world. But one, it's not obvious exactly what that is and where and like how things are connected. And two, and this is more confusing for most people, is that you can't move stuff around in this world and then like think that you're affecting things in the spiritual world. It's
mm,
like the so it is the same print, and we can see from this world certain things like love, birth, separation, connection. We can see certain things and learn a lot of things, and we're going to talk about a lot of examples from our world. But what's not clear then is that, so then what do I do here in order to affect there?
Mm-hmm.
So the Kabbalist is on a
mm,
journey to acquire eternity, to acquire the qualities of the upper force, whole, harmonious. We call that quality bina, bestowal, altruistic loving, giving. We are three students on that path. We have a real life, live, living sage as our teacher. We've been studying for many years with him. That's where all of our content comes from, is from those lessons with him. And we're here every week to speak about the phenomena in our world, what's going on in our world through that lens. So, welcome to the great transition. And that's what's going on here. Send us your comments. We love to see what you have to say about what we're talking about, and if there's other things you'd like to hear us talking about. So, when a person is born in this world, we are 100% opposite from that spiritual, uh, altruistic, eternal, loving force. And that doesn't mean that you should be offended. Okay. Don't be offended. I'm sure you were. Doesn't mean you weren't a cute baby, and it doesn't mean that you're not a caring spouse, and it doesn't mean that you're not a considerate friend. It just means that everything that is earthly, everything that is made out of earth stuff, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, none of that is, nothing in this earthly world has an eternal power source, and everything needs to constantly be fulfilled. We need air, we need food, we need sex, and then there's higher forms of fulfillment. I need some kind of family structure. Now I need wealth. Now I need knowledge. I need all of these things that don't naturally uh, fill themselves eternally. So when a person comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah on this journey to become uh, godlike, we can say that, right, guys? To become godlike, we don't usually use that exact word, but to acquire the qualities of the upper force,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds more
mm.
kosher to say it that way. Um, we usually call it in the wisdom of Kabbalah adhesion with with the creator, or acquiring the qualities of the upper force. We don't typically call it becoming godlike, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the concept. We need instructions, some advice for that from those who have already traversed this path, because without that, it will take hundreds of generations of trial and error for us to figure it out. And here comes the wisdom of the Kabbalah that guides us through that process, because otherwise it would be very, very confusing. It's not the case with the general public, people not on this journey, not engaged in this goal. They don't get this same kind of special treatment. So if you are engaged in this spiritual work, um, you have a body in this world, and you have a seed of your soul that is developing. And that's what we're going to be focused on today. Um, about nurturing the seed of of our soul so that it will grow and it will rule us, and not that our carbon body will rule us. So it's already there's a lot of confusion um, right here, and this will be kind of the beginning of the setup here. The general public who think about these things would just say, everyone has a soul. Oh, he's got a great soul, or what a soul, or like, it's a young soul, or he's like an old soul.
Right.
Uh, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's actually something very different. The soul is in potential, like the sperm of Albert Einstein. Oh, we lost Chris. The sperm of Albert Einstein swimming among billions of other potential Einsteins. It's not Albert Einstein. Not until many processes happen. It has all of the qualities that Albert Einstein will have. But until many conditions are met and it goes through a process called birth, and then it suckles from its mother, and then it detaches from its mother and develops its own way to digest the world, and then goes through many processes, then it grows up to be an Albert Einstein. So he grows up to be Albert Einstein. The same thing with our soul. It has to go through a conscious developmental process. So while our carbon body is going through life, right? And sometimes it feels good, and sometimes it feels bad, and sometimes it feels good, and sometimes it feels bad. There's another process, a spiritual process. Let's say it's inside there somewhere. It doesn't have a actual physical place that it resides in the body, but let's say here's the body and here's the point inside there. So when the body's going up and the body's going down, if we in our consciousness adhere to the body as that's me, so then when the body goes up, I feel good. And when the body goes down, I feel bad. But if we start developing the soul, then and we start getting special treatment from above, and we'll have to talk about what that special treatment is, because the physics of that are not obvious at all. um, the body goes up and the body goes down, but the soul doesn't it kind of uncouples from just identifying himself with the body, that's me. If we identify with the body that that's me, then when the body feels crap, I feel crap. When the body feels good, I feel good. And all day long, I'm a hedonist trying to just keep myself up as much as possible. But when we start learning the spiritual physics and we start identifying with the soul, now we have to understand, and here is where we have the benefit of the books and of the Kabbalists who came before us and described to us what is the process that the soul is going through, and why are the physics of that so not obvious and so not exactly what we'd expect from how the management of the physical world happens. What do you guys make of this?
Oh,
I could keep going, but I want to like to get some feedback here.
yeah. No, I mean, that dynamic you just described is something we could really zoom into. The fact that you could feel good or bad, if you're spiritually developing, you can feel it's like you have two possibly opposite sensations. You could feel bad or feel good and experience the opposite sensation with regards to your soul, let's say. And that's something very, I think, new for you when you start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. When you start developing spiritually, you kind of we are used to just judging whether life is good or bad based on whether, like you said it, our body feels good or bad. But when that seed of the soul, we call it the point in the heart, or the seeker point, that point that wants to develop and discover the unknown realm of reality, that point that wonders about spiritual purpose, that point that craves something beyond just material pleasures, that point, that seeker point inside a person, that point in the heart, as Kabbalists call it, when that begins to develop, it's almost like you have a split identity, or almost like you have another thing that's happening inside of you that not doesn't necessarily coincide with your ordinary judgment of life. Something potentially challenging could happen to you in life, something where your ordinary corporeal judgment of reality would indicate is bad for you, even, or tough, or difficult, challenging, and so forth. And yet, from the point in the heart perspective, it could feel like you're developing, you're growing, you're in an adventure, you're in a kind of a dialogue with the source of life that is now working with you, developing you through this challenge that you're undergoing in this world. And it could be
Specifically
the
at
other way around. Yeah.
specifically at that point, we find the separation in degrees between the animal degree and the human degree. Just because we're wearing clothes and drive cars and live in a house, from the perspective of spirituality, we're still on the level of an animal. Meaning, if we examine our desires are more sophisticated. But just like an animal, a desire awakens for sex. I need to go fill it. A desire awakens for rest. I need to go fill it. A desire awakens for food. I need to go fill it. And those are my calculations. You may say, I'm postponing, I'm gonna work out now so I can have my beach bod later. It's a more sophisticated way of filling the same desires. It's not yet on spiritual. When you begin to decouple the spiritual progress from actually the states that the body is in, then we start and start developing spiritually. Then we can start talking about free choice. Before that, we don't have free choice. There, we can start talking about our spiritual development. There's a lot of questions of why. Why would the body have to go through feeling bad and all those things? I'm not sure if we want to get into that part yet, but let's discuss a little more about you want to get into that?
You know what? Maybe from here's a take on this, because you mentioned in the beginning of your intro, you mentioned that the goal of spiritual development from a Kabbalistic perspective is what we call adhesion with the Creator, or connecting to the source of life, or connecting to the thought of creation, as Kabbalists call it, right? And maybe through that, we can explain the matter of spiritual, the dynamic, the physics of spiritual growth. We could shed some light on it. What is the Creator, right? What is the thought of creation? In Kabbalah, we're not referring to the Creator, obviously, as any kind of a long-bearded guy in the sky, and also not some sort of a deity that governs us by just giving us punishment when we're bad and giving us candy when we're good, or something like that. We're talking about, Kabbalists refer to the Creator as synonymous with nature, meaning everything that exists. Think about all of nature, and that means not just what we experience as nature, plants, animals, and trees. Rather, everything that exists. If you take all that exists in reality, what we discover and what we don't discover, what is visible to us and what's invisible to us, if you put all of that together, and you're considering that all of that is connected, there's one program behind both the planets and the particles and the trees and the animals and the humans. And that program of nature even includes our thoughts, ideas, feelings, emotions, our good and bad, right and wrong, and so forth. All of that is considered nature. And if you relate to everything that exists as governed by a single program, that would be the Creator, right? So the Creator is actually the connection between, it's a thought that holds together everything that exists, everything that seems contradictory and opposite to us, light and darkness, right and wrong, When we see things, we could see things. And this is not a simple thing, right? Because it maybe philosophically, it's easy to kind of grasp. Okay, one thought that includes everything. But when you think about it on the flesh, when you think about it emotionally, we see some things in reality that are truly contradictory. You see suffering and pain that is very hard to to understand where it's coming from. And on the other hand, there's also pleasure. You see truth and false. You see right and wrong. We see what we feel and experience as bad players and good players. We see that in ourselves, we sometimes are in a contradiction between what's right and wrong and true and false or good and bad. That thought of creation somehow holds everything and connects everything into a single harmony, into a single unity, into a single oneness. And growing spiritually, if you understand that the Creator means the ultimate oneness and harmonious connection between all opposites, the thought of creation is the thought in which all the opposites in reality come together. If you look at developing spiritually as developing towards that kind of force and program or thought, then we can understand that spiritual development means we have to keep connecting these plus and minuses, these opposites, these contradictions. We need to experience each time a contradiction in reality and achieve the resolution of that contradiction. Achieve,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
bigger and bigger
yeah,
and bigger. So we
exactly.
can't absorb the entire universe in one. Just like with food, for example, here is an example of the corporeal world. You couldn't, there's an expression, you can't eat a whale in one bite. You can't eat the dinner in one bite. Like, why
Right,
why is it like that? Why can't we just lay down for a minute and get a full rest? Why
right.
can't we just sit down? Why can't I just take my dinner, blend it, and just IV it into my
Inject
vein?
it.
Why do I have to chew it? And
Right.
sometimes we all have that experience that we're like rushing through the meal. Like, why do I have to sit and cut it, and I
Why
can only
does
do one bite at a
evolution
time?
takes billions of years, and in this slow gradual process, like, right, like everything is gradual and incremental. Every development happens in these bit by bit by bit kind of steps. Yeah.
Yet every
Okay.
day can seem very monotonous sometimes too. You can get stuck. The same thing with that. You can feel the days just kind of blend together. Maybe there's not a lot of change. And honestly, in those days where you kind of wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, I think we've all probably felt something like that, where there's no change, you feel dead. Kind of, you feel like there's like no flow of life. You're kind of like missing on something. It's like
Hmm.
people even say a wasted day because there was like no real change between states.
Right.
So,
And that's exactly opposite when we're talking about the physics of spiritual development. In Kabbalists write about this in different ways, right? But the basically, spiritually speaking, it doesn't matter if you are now in a descent or in an ascent, if you feel better or you feel worse, if you're in a minus or a plus. What matters is going through the plus and minuses as quickly as possible, as frequently as possible. That
let's open up.
defines your progress.
Let's
Yeah.
open up the physics on that.
Okay.
When the upper force sees that a person is engaging in this process, so it's called that that person gets special treatment. So everybody who's here, you should begin to understand. You're not going to get an email about it, and you're not going to get a postcard or a pigeon. You might get a pigeon, actually, if you're paying attention, but you get. It's called special treatment, and so the upper force says, "Okay, we see that you're engaged in developing your soul. So I see that you've done something to become more like the upper force. And so what I'm going to, meaning the upper force saying, what I'm going to do now, what we're going to do now on your behalf is now give you something more to work with, a bigger negative to work with.
Yeah.
And then as you work with the bigger negative, the upper force says, I see that you've made progress. And it's just like the food. It's not going to shove anything in your face. It's only going to give you, and everyone's heard the expression like life doesn't give you more than you can handle. It's exactly that. You get a portion according to where you're at, and the upper force looks and says, okay, well done. You reached some equivalence with the upper force. Let's say you did it at a level 3.5. Well done. So now we're going to increase your the negative frequency to 4.5, and then you'll have an opportunity to raise yourself there. And what's very confusing to us all, doesn't matter how long you're engaged in this work, and that's why we're always talking about connecting with each other and the group and the friends and being together in events like our retreat and things like that, is because you engage so much and do so much good and try so hard, and the result you get seems like the opposite. And if you don't have the instruction manual and the group around you reminding you of this physics of the upper world, and you're just looking at the physics of this world, it's better that didn't engage in this at all, because I engaged in this and I like lost,
Yeah.
right?
Time for a vacation. I'll catch up on this next life.
No, but that's really the issue with spiritual development. I think that a lot of people have a certain awakening at some point in life, but maybe they don't find the instruction, they don't find the support, they don't find a way to make sense of what to do with it. And maybe when they make an effort and they get a response from the nature's program, from the upper force, from the system, however you want to call it, they get a response that feels like a challenge, or feels all of a sudden like they don't care about spirituality anymore. And they're supposed to make another step forward. They're supposed to try to connect the new minus with the next plus. Because that's how we develop in spirituality, just like you walk on two legs, left and right and left and right. Similarly, the soul develops through what we call 3 lines in the wisdom of Kabbalah, the left line and the right line. And in between, we build our spiritual identity, which is referred to as the middle line. And so
I love
yeah.
I love the
What?
example of the mother or the father who's holding the baby, and the baby, you're trying
Right.
to let the baby walk on his own, and then they take the step, and then they take the right, and you let go, and then you want to see if they can take the step. But
Right.
if this practice doesn't occur, then it prolongs the development of the
Right.
of the child.
And we are complete babies with regards to spiritual development. That's another thing that's hard for us, I think, to get used to, right? Because we're all adults, we all did things in life, we all have some knowledge about life, and all of a sudden when you come to spiritual development, you're a less than a baby even. You're not even born yet. There's a potential, a spiritual
You're
potential in
the
you.
Albert Einstein sperm.
You're
You're just the one
the
drop.
sperm, exactly. And now
You're a spiritual drop.
and in order to grow it, that drop has to now as if expand, and the only way for it to grow and expand is from a point of curiosity about the unknown, a point of emptiness about corporeal life, a point of seeking something higher. From that tiny dot, it has to grow into what we call a vessel. And that vessel grows like an opposite cone. We have to find 2 opposite forces in it. And let's call it plus and minus, or left and right. We feel closer to spirituality. We feel farther from spirituality. We feel like we want to develop. We feel like we are just good with staying in this world, and that's it. And these 2 forces, these opposite forces, they're in constant tension within you. And the more you develop, the more you go quickly between one to the other. Left and right, minus and plus, ascents and descents. We call this ups and downs in spirituality, or ins and outs. And this is something that you begin to feel. If you have the right instruction, you can feel this as like breathing, inhale and exhale. If
But
you
you know
don't
what, Asaf?
understand what's happening to you, then you're just baffled. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but you also have to. I think there's a component here that I think is also missing that we didn't really talk about. Where you're, let's say that you have something that happens to you in your life, and you want to control it. I need to fix it. And if you got the this if you got this if you received this state from the universe, from this all encompassing nature, what about how do I level myself? There's this like thing inside of me that wants to control it, that wants to change it. So there's this component also of like lowering myself a little bit and figuring and not being the one that's in control, not being the one that's controlling everything. If I can lower my need to want to grasp onto the external components and lower myself a little bit and feel that there's something pushing on me. I can't feel that something's pushing on me unless I lower my self-importance a little bit.
Annie Kurtz here sends a question. Maybe we could use that question to kind of arrive at a kind of a concluding point here. She says, if you're called, quote unquote, called to study Kabbalah in this life, is it likely you started studying in a previous life? She's asking for a friend. I think that's a cool question, actually, and it totally may be. We don't know exactly what happened throughout life cycles to our soul until we achieve the completion of our soul. There's a reason why that is hidden to us, all these states that we go through. But it's possible. It's possible because why is it possible? Because spiritual development, even though every state feels new, because you're in this ups and downs, ascents and descents, ins and outs, but it's never gone. This is called in Kabbalah, there's no absence in the spiritual, meaning there's incremental development, and even what you achieved or what your soul achieved through what we think of as past life cycles, that stays, that remains, and you keep just developing forward. So yes, it is possible. I myself asked that question at some point because I started getting into Kabbalah very early in life. And yeah, I had a similar question about that too. So, I mean, yeah, it's possible. I want to say one more thing, that if we understand that the main thing in order for us to develop spiritually is the frequency and the amplitude, not how I feel now at the descent or how I feel now in the ascent, because that's going to change. And the faster it changes, the more intense the changes are, that indicates the growth of the soul, the breathing process of the soul, right? So if we understand that, then all we need to do is put ourselves in an environment that supports this this kind of dynamic, that supports this development. And that's why Kabbalists, for thousands of years, they always studied together in groups. They created environments. The book of Zohar, written 1800 years ago, was written by 10 people who were together in a cave for several years, 13 years if I'm not wrong, just, together with each other, going through these inner states, because they had this support and this kind of supportive environment that can hold them as they go through many ups and downs and ins and outs and connections and disconnections. And that's why we, as Kabbalah students, even in 2025, we also try to create these environments where people can experience a rapid frequency of plus and minus, of ins and outs, of left and right, so they can immerse themselves in an environment where they can develop fast. That's what the Kabbalah retreat that we've already discussed in the last few weeks is all about. I think we put a link. We'll put it again if someone is interested. This is happening soon, and if you're interested in spiritual development, if you want to experience the best environment to do that, to immerse yourself in that and feel how quickly you can change your state, and go through that, I mean, you shouldn't miss that.
Do you feel like you were given a chance from above to advance your soul? I mean, it's really lucky. Like you said at the very beginning that some people get these invitations all the time and they just miss it, and maybe maybe I should have taken that. Maybe I should have picked up that book off of the shelf. All kinds of things, and now all of a sudden it's like this. We're hearing like from this random YouTube channel some invitation to go somewhere. I've seen a couple of shows. Maybe I don't really know anything about it. I don't really know anything about the. I don't really know anything about the study, but I feel maybe inside that there's some kind of tingling that's happening. Maybe it's worthwhile to check it out.
Guys, we have a great transition first. We got notification that the power is about to go off in the neighborhood. There's no war, thank God. No external war going on. We're going to have to call the show early this time. We see a few new people here. Yvonne Miller is blowing up the chat. Hello, Yvonne. But to our friends in Malbar in Mexico and Iona in LA and Julie, Chris, we're gonna have to. Julie says she's so stuck these days. What you were saying before, and Porco Magic in Romania and Hey Yetzi in Netherlands and Kirsten, everyone around the world. Guitar arrangement in Portugal and Amani in Africa. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Susanna Montana. Big hug to everybody.
Yes.
We'll be back next week at the same time.
Great to see you all here.
Yeah, we unintended electrical disturbance about to
Unintended.
happen here.
It's room for growth. What do you mean?
It's all written in the script. Okay, guys. We'll
this
play a
went
song.
too fast. Too fast.
We'll go out and hopefully we don't get cut before the end. All
Yeah.
right. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Next time. Bye bye.
One for all and all for one. Who's right or wrong don't matter none. We're talking about survival of the human race. Connecting love or burning hate. Which one will be our common fate? It's time for the arrival. A unity, y'all get it straight. We will overcome as one all of these troubles. Like sisters and brothers, sometimes we fight. Opportunity comes when we disagree, so we can finally see that from the dark night we will raise the dawn. Loving each other together, we'll sing one song. War brings the need to finally realize all of our dreams in peace. I mean, mine is how we live, but there must be an alternative to the situation. If we're gonna thrive, all these crises can be solved if we collectively evolve to receive a revelation.